My next guest is one of the very few people that I can recall who was able to transcend all lines of politics. Everyone seems to like this man. I know I do. Please welcome Don Chipp. Remember a Labor politician telling me once, Don, that the hardest thing about you is that people from all parties liked you when you were in Parliament. It's a good thing to have going for you, isn't it?
Well, it's a bit novel in politics.
Yeah, it is. How do you manage that? Because you were always yourself?
Well, I think I copied a lot of people. You're one of them, as you know, and I don't want to embarrass you. I've always said you're the greatest entertainer in Australia, and still are, don't you think?
Yeah. Thank you, Don. I knew there was a darn good reason why I liked you so much.
But you're always courteous to people, and I've seen you in some rough interviews, and I'm doing a thing on 3AK now, and you get some people on the phone who are a bit nasty, and you're tempted to be nasty back, but every phone call that comes into 3AK saying we like Don Chipp, they always say it because he's courteous. And I think that's the secret of being liked by people. Be fair dinkum, but be courteous.
In politics, what did you find hard, Don? Because obviously, particularly, of course, in your years as a member of the Liberal Party and also as a minister in the Liberal government, what did you find hardest? The fact that sometimes you really didn't have to be untrue to yourself, but you had to follow a party line that wasn't really you?
Oh, no, you're quite right. You had to be untrue to yourself. And this is what this damned party discipline does to decent people. See, 99% of people who go into politics go in for one reason, and that is to try to make Australia a better place for kids. That's basically the reason. 3 months after, in Canberra, there are different people, because the party, the first day in Parliament, the party whip calls them all together and he says, well, ladies and gentlemen, congratulations for being elected to Parliament. Now, you can forget all that rubbish you talked about during the election campaign. Now that you're here, you'll do, think, and particularly vote, as we, the party, tell you. Now, that does something to people after a while. You find yourself voting and speaking for things you don't believe in.
Mm. Well, that certainly wouldn't suit you. Is that the reason you got out of the Liberal Party?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Malcolm Fraser and I never quite got on, you know.
No, I got that impression. Why not?
Well,
what don't you like about him as a politician?
I didn't like him. He's got a robust sense of humour, which doesn't appeal to me. He used to shove ice cubes and pickled onions in my pockets.
Did he really?
Well, yeah, that sort of stuff.
Really
I found him
hilarious stuff, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, a real jolly fellow.
Oh, yes, I can imagine that.
And he used to come to he thought it was good once to barrack for Carlton. I was number 2 ticket holder after Sir Robert Menzies. And Malcolm thought, it's a good club, and John Elliott thought, well, come to Carlton. So Malcolm went to Carlton, and they used to sit him next to me. And it'd be the last quarter, and 1 point the difference. And Malcolm would say, hey, Chippy, which way are we kicking?
I thought you were going to say, get in the car and go home and miss the traffic. What about, apart from Malcolm Fraser, anybody else in your time, particularly as a Liberal, anyone that you really disliked politically, that you felt was in the wrong job at the wrong time?
Oh, yes. I'd rather not talk about them. There's 2 or 3. I'd rather talk about the opposite side of your question. John Gorton would have been the greatest Prime Minister Australia ever had.
What happened, Don?
Well, they assassinated him. They cut him down. John Gorton was the only bloke who would have got a vote of all political parties to be Prime Minister. If you had a situation where someone just nominates to be Prime Minister and the whole Parliament had to vote for it, John Gorton would have won it. When you come to think about it, that's why they cut him down. And that's the sad thing about politics.
Who's they?
The power people in the Liberal Party. See, John Gorton took on overseas banks. He took on insurance companies who were ripping people off. He took on the state governments. He wasn't afraid to do his own thing. If he felt like a drink at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, he'd go to the cupboard and have one. He went backstage and saw Liza Minnelli, and the mischievous people made things of that.
It would mean nothing in 1989, would it? But it meant something then.
Well, no, in Australia it wouldn't. But the interesting thing, Bert, the backlash has gone completely the other way in the United States and Great Britain. Do you know the sexual scandals that they've had there? The Gary Harts and Tower. And Tower was single, for heaven's sake. I mean, he was taking a few girls out. I mean, look at Jack Kennedy. Everybody knew what he was doing in that room next to his Oval Office, to Marilyn Monroe and a few other people.
I didn't. What was he doing in that room next to his Oval Office? He hardly rang me.
The whole nation knew it, and they were proud that they had such a jolly president today. I mean, if anyone looks sideways at a girl. So there's been a backlash. But in Australia, we're going through the sort of stage of sophistication.
Well, Bob Hawke is getting away with a lot, isn't he?
Well, every time he confesses to something, it always happened in the past. So I don't know whether he's getting away with it now. He said to me the other day...
Perhaps I should rephrase that.
He said to me the other day, he said, Chippy, there's one thing wrong with this job. He said, what you do miss, and that was that. And he said, and how the bloody hell can you do it with 19 of these goons following you everywhere you go? He's talking to his bodyguards. So yeah. I suppose it would be a bit difficult for a Prime Minister to play up.
What about, Bob, at the moment, do you think the Prime Minister, I see you've been suggesting in the Sunday Telegraph the last couple of weeks that he should call an election for the sake of Australia, and I think once again this is an example of how you're able to speak, not in a political sense, but just as a citizen of Australia who cares. Why won't he call one?
Well, he'd be frightened of getting beaten. I was interested that Andrew Peacock came out yesterday and called for the same thing. And used,
almost in your words, by the way.
Well, it wasn't my words, identical words, although Andrew never saw the column, of course. Or so he said. But I think unless we have an election soon and the people can decide who's going to get us out of this mess, I think we're going to get in the tube, because we cannot afford to go another 10 months, and that's when the next election will be, April next year. We can't afford to go 10 months losing $2 billion out of this country every month. In other words, what we're doing now is we're spending $2 billion on overseas goods more than we're earning every month, and you can't go on doing it.
Don, if he called an election now, or if he went to the polls next April, but the status quo remained, who'd win?
If he went now and took the people into his confidence, you'd have a one-out contest, Hawke and Peacock, and it'd be a photo finish. I suspect that Bob Hawke might win. If he leaves it till April, he's on a hiding to nothing, because there's high interest rates. I mean, mortgage payments to many people now are taking up 40, 50% of their income, and people won't cop that. That's about 2 or 3 million voters out there.
OK, just in one word, a couple of leaders, and just give me your description of them. Malcolm, I think we've covered already, Malcolm Fraser. Bob Hawke, in a word?
One of the best we've ever had, a great man.
Andrew Peacock?
Could be a great Prime Minister. He's got talent that hasn't been tapped yet.
John Howard?
I think Brian Dawes summed it up. If you're having a Roman orgy and you ran out of grapes, you'd send Johnny Howard to get some more.
OK, well, leave it at that, Don. Thanks for your company today. Don Chipp. Good to see you. OK. Righto.